Coming up on Tech News Today, we initiate Brian Brushwood into the mysteries of Apple. Also, the Senate is going against the AT&T-T-Mobile merger. How effective will they be? And Lenovo may have bested the iPad. All of that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, July 20th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly. All streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, go to netflix.com/twit. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
Beep, 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 beep.
I'm Iyaz, Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And joining us from deep in the heart of Texas is Mr. Brian Brushwood. Welcome to the
Holy
show.
Robot, it is awesome to see you guys again. What did I miss? You guys were all of a sudden you're doing the Frankenstein gang. What is that?
Well, we had to do the show intro twice. Those of you on the podcast, on the live stream, I screwed it up royally, and we had to start over again. And then we just got silly.
Things got weird.
Yeah, that is Sarah Lane. In case you don't speak robot.
Oh yeah, I am Sarah Lane
Right.
in human speak.
The way you humans would say
Yes,
it. Yeah,
that's right.
People from Neptune.
And Brian Brushwood, I'm glad you're here because you don't use Macs.
Yeah, this is like, it's my Hanukkah time. All you guys are opening up your awesome gifts, and I'm just like, we don't really celebrate Mac in my family. We celebrate PC. So I understand you guys are having a blast opening up your Lions and stuff, but I'm going to stare awkwardly over your shoulder and be like, so that's a good thing, right? That change is good? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
so
I would imagine you'd be very excited about that.
You know, when I was growing up, I had a lot of friends come to Mass with me, and I would explain what the priest was doing, you know, in hushed tones throughout. So I'm used to this sort of thing. I'll be able to guide you through this to be like, oh, this when Steve Jobs does that, it's a symbol of the blessing of the faithful. That kind of thing.
Let us proclaim the mystery of Boom.
So here's what Apple introduced today. A new Mac Minis, new MacBook Airs, and a cinema display. And they all, well, the cinema display doesn't, but the MacBook Airs and the Mac Mini have Lion, OS X Lion. So we get OS X Lion in the App Store, and now you can buy new stuff with Lion installed on it. Let's start with the Thunderbolt display, actually, because that's kind of cool. It's available for $999, so it ain't cheap. That's for sure. But it allows you to send audio, gigabit Ethernet, FireWire 800, 2 USB ports, and a FaceTime camera over one cable to your laptop, desktop, or MacBook Air.
Now, does that max out the Thunderbolt bandwidth, or
I don't think it does.
More to spare. That's amazing.
Now, I don't know what the capacity of the implementation of Thunderbolt is in this display, so I shouldn't say whether that maxes it out or not, but theoretically, I know Thunderbolt can handle more than that. And it's daisy chainable. You can actually, there's a Thunderbolt port on the display, so you can add more Thunderbolt stuff to the display and daisy chain out a bunch of Thunderbolt things. There's not much Thunderbolt out there
There's
right
a hard
now.
drive coming, but the other thing
There's
is
a Blu-ray player and a couple hard drives, right?
a Blu-ray player?
Yeah, I think there is.
I'm not sure if that's the case, if it's Thunderbolt or not, but I know there's a Blu-ray player external for Mac if you are willing to try that. But if you're wondering if that $50 Thunderbolt cable comes along with the display, it does. So you don't just shell out an extra $50.
It's built into the display, right?
Right. You get a cable, and it also has a MagSafe cable, so you can attach it to your laptop.
This is such an Apple solution just to get to fewer wires. You can almost tell that they're like, let's just run with this. Let's put everything in one fat pipe. It's the only thing connecting the computer to the monitor.
Wireless is not good enough yet, so let's put it all at least in one wire. Let's reduce the number of wires. Actually, the MagSafe makes it 2 wires, but kind of cool that you can plug it in through the display as well, so that saves you a wire because you don't have 2 power plugs going from the computer and the display. Also, MacBook Airs. Everybody's hot for the MacBook Airs. 1-inch MacBook Air sits at 11-inch, not 1-inch.
I was like,
very small.
Nano Air.
Very small MacBook Air. The 1-inch MacBook Air is 10 cents. The 11-inch MacBook Air is $999. Has a 1.6 gigahertz Core i5 processor, so they get the faster processor. 2 gigs of RAM, 64 gig solid state drive, and then you can go all the way up to the 13-inch machine, which is $1,599, $1,599. 1.7 gigahertz Core i5, 4 gigs RAM, and 256 gigabytes of solid state goodness.
And this refresh was sorely needed. The MacBook Airs were running Intel Core 2 Duos, which are just generations old. By going to Sandy Bridge, you have some you have a great processor and some decent graphics built in right into that one chip. So that looks like it's really tantalizing. A $999 for the entry level one, and I know that if you go up to I think $11.99, you get 4 gigabytes of RAM standard.
And the new backlit keyboard, Brian, is a symbol of the light of the faithful always shining upon you while you use your computer.
I'm so glad to understand the symbolism. This is getting so much better for me. Now, I have a question for you guys. I honestly can't decide if, from a branding perspective, this is a brilliant thing or a really dumb thing, because for years, the MacBook Air has been a symbol of status. It has been perceived as a super high-end device that was so light and so thin, but now you got the iPad.
I don't think the original Airs were perceived very high-end at all.
They were very expensive.
Yeah.
They were
expensive
yeah, I think
for
that's
what
what
they
Brian's
were.
saying.
Okay. I'm talking about from a monetary perspective, high end. But now this is taking over the entry level of it. Now, is this a case where when Cadillac started making cheap cars, it really tarnished the Cadillac brand? And is this going to rub off some of the sheen from the MacBook Air, or instead does it just elevate the entire Apple brand, where people are like, wow, this is the entry level of the Mac. This is amazing. Apple's wonderful.
I don't think it tarnishes anything. I mean, there's benchmarking data. Laptop Mag. This is a story I'm reading on Mac Rumors that Laptop Mag had gotten a hold of, which is like the 13-inch MacBook Air is somewhat on par with the 17-inch i7 MacBook Pro from last year.
Yeah,
I mean, benchmarking that focuses on processor and memory performance, that sort of thing. But it's like these aren't crappy little computers we're talking about.
The other
They're
thing
bigger
is
and better.
they're still starting at $999. So even though it's the cheap laptop, it's still way more expensive than any other PC you can get. The entry level PCs are like what, $299, $399. At $999 being the cheapest laptop you can get from Apple, I don't think that's bringing them down too far. But
but again, it's taking what was a high-end line and replacing a low-end entry-level line with it. It's as though all of a sudden you took your Lexus and all of a sudden that was the cheapest kind of Toyota you could buy.
I want to correct something too. The chat room is pointing out there are Core i7s available. The specs that I gave were for the default models. There's 4 default models. You can configure a MacBook Air to have a Core i7, so I guess that would make it technically the top end of the line. But I was given the default specs there. And finally, Mac Minis out today, and Mac Minis losing their optical drive because Apple says nobody really needs one anymore.
Well, I think a lot of home theater folks would disagree. I don't really use an optical drive regularly, but Iyaz, I was mentioning that to you the other day, and you were like, "Are you serious?"
I was shocked that you were diskless.
Are you serious? You don't use discs. A lot of people do, and if you use a Mac Mini and you hook it up to a television and you're playing movies through it, this would kind of suck.
Yeah, I think one of the problems with the Macs in general is that they never adopted Blu-ray. So for a home theater PC, it's still lacking that major high-definition disc capability. And with Apple just ditching the optical drive entirely on the Mac Mini, well, that's not going to be showing up. I mean, what's the next thing they could possibly put a drive into? Maybe the iMac? Maybe the Mac? I mean, the Mac Pro obviously will keep it. But, I mean, it looks like to Apple the future's without discs. I mean, if the MacBook Air is the standard, how long before the MacBook Pro loses its optical drive as well?
Now, you don't have cloud storage in iCloud of videos. And you have a limited amount of space on a MacBook Air. I guess the Mac Minis, you can get a larger amount of space. You can get a 500 gigabyte hard drive. But still, you can fill up a 500 gigabyte hard drive pretty quick if you buy some movies and TV shows. So I assume they're expecting most people to rent videos in this situation rather than purchase them.
Well, that, and they're going to argue, oh, you could always use your Time Machine backup over there. You have your network access storage there. That's terabytes of information right there. It's probably to keep you in the Apple ecosystem.
I filled up my Time Machine capsule too.
Well, they want to sell you another one.
Yeah,
a 3 terabyte model.
Just use your Thunderbolt cable.
Right. Oh, and
keep buying external hard drives.
Speaking of which, Mac Mini adds Thunderbolt as well, and Core i5, i7 processors. Opening Mac Mini $599 with the 2.3 gigahertz Core i5, and it goes up to $799 for a 2.5 gigahertz Core i5, as well as a Mac Mini with Lion server that'll cost you $999 with a 2 gigahertz quad core i7 processor.
There's another thing Apple does sell, and they sell a USB optical drive. So if you really, really want to have an optical drive, you can still get one through Apple. I'm not sure why you would do that, but you can.
Just get it separately. Yeah, at that point, I think you're right. You just get an external drive.
Yeah.
Get a Thunderbolt drive. That's a few terabytes.
And then also, I think Lion's supposed to support accessing DVDs on other network machines. I mean, that was one of the things that MacBook
the Target disc thing. Well, you have to have another machine with an optical disc.
It's not optimal. Yeah. Far from it.
Speaking of OS 10, OS 10 dropped today. You can get it in the App Store of OS 10 for $29.99. So
this is OS 10 Lion, of course.
You can't get it if you've got Leopard.
No, you need
Snow Leopard so that you can have the App Store.
So you have to upgrade to Snow Leopard in order to upgrade to Lion.
It's like $30 for
or go into the Apple Store.
Snow Leopard first.
Let me tell you, being a non-Mac person, it sounded like you were saying, like, if you have this specific disease, you can't get Lion. If you have Leopard,
if you have leprosy, we cannot help you.
Here.
Yeah, it's
there is no app
yet. You're in bigger trouble than Apple can help you with. If you have leprosy. Apple is also initiating a mass discontinuation of boxed retail software. So not only can you not buy OS 10 Lion in the store, or in the physical retail store, you can't buy almost any of the software in the store. You can't buy Aperture, you can't buy a lot of the jam packs for GarageBand, all that stuff. They want you to go and download it through the App Store. So really, if you're on OS 10 Leopard, they're leaving you behind. At this point, they're saying we're writing you off. You're 2 versions behind now. You got to catch up or be left behind. They also retired the MacBook White, the white Mattel-looking MacBook.
Yeah, my mom actually just got one of those recently.
Did she
now
really?
It's a classic.
Yeah. It is.
Late model. Late model white MacBook.
Just gonna have to get a bookshelf just to put it
Box
up there.
it up,
Look
sell
at this
it on
old
eBay.
relic. It works. It's a great machine. I mean, as far as an entry level, like Brian, you were saying, it works very well as an entry level MacBook. Obviously, from here on out, that will be the Air.
Back to the whole Lion on Mac App Store only. I have not seen a lot of backlash about that. I haven't seen like, oh, there have been connection problems and this is timing out. I haven't seen anything like that on Twitter or on Google News yet. So I'm kind of surprised that everything ran so smoothly, considering that this launched today.
Yeah. Also,
I actually stayed away because I thought it wouldn't launch smoothly.
I updated to OS 10 Lion. It went very smoothly. I had a few niggling things here and there. I had to update Java, which it did right away. Had a couple applications I had to upgrade because I hadn't upgraded them and they didn't work on Lion right away. iTunes and iWork, for instance, have been updated for Lion so they can add that full screen support, which Windows has had forever. The ability to actually have a full screen of your app, not just filling up most of the screen, but it gets rid of everything else on the screen.
That's cool.
And as usual, there's a great table at roaringapps.com, ROARING apps.com, where you can check to see if your favorite piece of software has been upgraded for Lion yet before you go and upgrade Lion and find out all of a sudden you can't use a piece of software you depend on. And we've got some good news that, in fact, Apple is going to come out with a sort of physical version. They're going to sell USB sticks starting in August of Lion for, what is it?
$69.
$39 more than it costs to download it.
That's right. I mean, the other
That's
thing
an
is,
expensive USB stick.
Lifehacker actually has a post up that you could create a backup disk or USB flash drive if you want of Lion, if you follow their steps. So if you want to have a physical media version of this, you can do it right now.
Sure.
Or you could wait a couple months and pay $70 for it for some reason.
The other thing, I mean, it keeps a copy of the recovery disk in a partition on your hard drive. That's one of the things it does when it installs. So theoretically, if you have a problem, you can reinstall from that partition. If your whole hard drive goes bad, that's not going to help you. But there is also the ability to boot into a recovery mode that can connect to the internet and download that recovery partition again once you've replaced a bad hard drive and get you going. So you're not as totally screwed as people who are used to relying on CDs for recovery disks might think. You can also, if you don't have an internet connection, take it into the Apple Store and the geniuses can recover it for you as well. None of those is as easy as popping in that CD, though, I gotta say.
Well, I mean, you might not have a CD optical drive on a Mac Mini or a MacBook Air. You're like, well, I need something with USB.
Exactly.
Now, is there a logical reason why they would delay the physical media, the USB stick, for a month? Is that something to encourage people to go more the internet route, or is it a case where you think they weren't able to coordinate a launch of everything at the same time? I can't imagine that.
No, this is a well-coordinated launch. I mean, they held off on MacBook Airs, they held up on Mac Minis so that they could launch them with the operating system. It's very coordinated. I think they don't want people who fear change to just go for the USB stick because they're used to having a piece of physical media. They want to kind of nudge people to use the App Store before they give that option.
That could also explain the really high price. They still what would you do? Pay $70 or start using the Mac App Store at that point?
Iyaz, it's not like Apple has any kind of reputation for charging as much as $37 just for a USB stick.
Wait a minute. Possibly. Well, they overcharge a lot of things. I just think that they're actually
heresy
dictating behavior by price. That's all.
Now you kick me out of my
Drive
house.
him forth from this place.
You're not welcome, PC. Get out of here.
PC.
Let's move on to some non-Apple news now. Senator Herb Kohl of Wisconsin, head of the Senate Judiciary Antitrust Subcommittee, sent a letter to the Department of Justice and the FCC today opposing the merger of AT&T and T-Mobile, requesting that they block the merger. He says he doesn't think it's good for competition. He thinks it's going to raise prices. Senator Kohl also opposed the Comcast NBC Universal merger, and that went through anyway, so it's not like what Herb Kohl says goes. It's just another in the pile of oppositions, although a weighty one. Separately, Representatives Ed Markey, John Conyers, and Anna Eshoo sent a joint letter to the FCC and the DOJ, not asking to block the way Kohl did, but saying, we really think you should scrutinize this. We're not too comfortable with it, sort of insinuating maybe that they should block it.
Well, it's not like the FCC is not paying attention in general. I mean, this is kind of important. If you're going to go down from 4 carriers to 3, okay, this is a big deal. And the other thing is that this isn't the only person opposing this. Obviously, Sprint's been very vocal about opposing this merger between AT&T and T-Mobile. Plus, lots of different states are looking into this, and they're going to make recommendations to the FCC with the findings.
Senator Kohl, I mean, he like you said, I mean, his word isn't necessarily going to become law, but he says this is going to cause harm to competition and consumers. This is a bad idea. It should be blocked. He can't flip the switch himself, but he's taking a firm stance. The other senators that are saying, well, we're not going to take a firm stance. We would just like you to scrutinize this a little bit further. It's sort of like, well, why don't they have a firm stance? What do they think about it? I mean, there are other senators who are like, this merger should pass.
So politicians are not giving straight answers?
Well, I know that it's not the first time this sort of thing has happened. I'm just sort of like, well, where are you exactly? Do you not get it? Do you not know?
And they're not the only ones who are speaking out. California's Public Utility Commission is examining the merger. New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman announced in March that they would undertake a thorough review. So there's opposition in all corners of the country. There's also support, though. 26 state governors have sent letters supporting the merger. Of course, AT&T came out with their statement saying they feel that Senator Kohl's view is inconsistent with antitrust law. They think the merger should go through, obviously.
And that's the big question. I mean, you've got, obviously, T-Mobile wants it to go through. AT&T wants it to go through. From a legal standpoint, I don't know, I don't know anything about law, so I don't know if it's legal or illegal. But from a consumer standpoint, there's something about this that just makes me really uncomfortable. I can imagine no scenario where this ends up benefiting the little guys who actually have contracts with AT&T or T-Mobile.
But like AT&T said, Brian, it'll help improve your service.
So,
and it'll help people stop competing with each other.
AT&T's line is that this will improve competition because AT&T will benefit by being able to roll out LTE and therefore compete more with Verizon, and T-Mobile will have the benefit of AT&T's audience and therefore have a better product for their customers, and that will mean better competition.
They want to work together, not against each other.
Wait, that's not helping the situation. That's exactly what we're afraid of, is that they'll work together and not against each other.
But they'll work together against Verizon.
Okay, all right.
And that's good for everyone who holds AT&T stock.
And that's good for America.
And
if you don't like that, you're against America.
Yeah,
there you go.
The terrorists
More
win.
choices are just confusing.
That's right. And don't forget Sprint, who's also firmly against this merger, by the way.
When we were talking about this earlier, originally, I kept thinking of it as, man, we should have more than 2.5 network providers. I felt guilty after saying that.
I felt bad. You were totally get where you're coming from, but I'm almost rooting for Sprint.
Oh yeah, totally.
And
in fact,
which is odd because at one point, I kind of hated them.
No, look, there's always a place for RC Cola, and I hope they suddenly become very kitsch and a bunch of hipsters start drinking it, so it becomes very, very popular.
That's Sprint. My Sprint next.
Sprint is for hipsters.
Sprint, the Mr. Pibb.
Hey, look what Pabst Blue
telecoms.
Ribbon has done with their, you can charge $6 for it in places in Brooklyn. So
then
PBR in a can.
Sprint
maybe
will charge
Sprint
more.
Good
Sprint
stuff.
can become ironic.
It's the ironic network.
Yeah, I'm using Sprint. Can you believe it?
I'm
my
using
brick
this
phone.
little network called Sprint. You've probably never heard of it.
Did you notice my mustache?
I've been using it for like a year.
It's so retro. I feel like it's, I can hear a pin drop.
I think they started in
1990s.
Williamsburg or something.
All right, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Netflix, streaming thousands of TV episodes and movies directly to you instantly, which means it saves you time, money, and hassle. You can watch Netflix movies and TV shows on your Mac, PC, or iPad. You can watch on your iPhone. You can watch on your game console, so you can watch them on your TV, Xbox 360, PS3, Nintendo Wii. And if you're not a gamer, you can watch Netflix on your TV with an Apple TV or with a Roku box. They're inexpensive and easy to use. Netflix brings you a huge selection of TV and movies right to your screen. And there's no limits. There's no rental fees. You watch as many as you want all month long, at least for 30 days for free, because you're watching this show. So just try it out. Netflix.com/twit, or tell a friend to try it out. Netflix.com/twit gets you 30 days free. Try out Netflix. See if you like it. And we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Speaking of Roku, actually, Roku announced a new line of Roku boxes set to hit the shelves later this month. They're more energy efficient. They upgrade the Netflix experience with support for subtitles, surround sound, and 1080p video. And they add new channels like Angry Birds.
That's a channel?
Yes.
Oh.
Because
Just
they're
stare at you.
adding games.
I
Okay.
see.
Major League Soccer gets added, as well as Epics. The new models will be the HD, the similar names that they used to have. The HD is $60. That one gives you 720p video. The XD is $80. That gives you 1080p video and Dolby 5.1 surround sound for Netflix. And for $100, you can get the XS, which includes not only the Angry Birds channel, an Ethernet port, and a USB port. The other two work off Wi-Fi, but also a game remote is packaged in, so you can use a game controller. It's
Looks a bit like the
motion
Wii remote.
controller. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
Bluetooth motion controller.
Well, hold on a second. So they're more energy efficient, and I know they're a little bit smaller, so that's great. Okay, I'm on board. I like Roku. But if they're upgrading Netflix experience with 1080p video, I'm already watching 1080p video on my Roku box.
Not on Netflix, apparently.
Huh.
Your Netflix
I didn't
has
even
not
know
been
that.
delivering that. So according to this release, anyway.
So this is
So-
worth it for me.
Yeah, so you're getting surround sound is the big upgrade for Netflix, and this game remote you can buy separately if you want to get the $60 or the $80 model. The game remote and a 2 GB micro SD card are sold separately as a bundle for $29.99.
I'll tell you, out of everything on this list, you'll be shocked at what I'm most excited about. You have a guess?
Shocked.
The micro SD card?
The
Nope.
wrist strap on the remote.
The USB port.
Nope. Subtitles, because that's the one thing that my dad has a really hard time hearing. So whenever we're watching stuff, like that's part of the reason that we stick to traditional cable boxes, because they have closed captioning, and there's certain. And it started for me when I was watching Flight of the Conchords with their crazy New Zealand accents. Half the time I'd be like, "What did he say?"
Yeah.
And so having the closed captioning on there made a huge difference, and I hope to see more of that built in to the digital streaming content as well.
That's a really good point. Hadn't thought about that.
And that was the reason people were sticking to DVDs with Netflix, is because they want to look at the captions, and a device like this that supports subtitles will help out a bit.
Also releasing new products today, Lenovo, the ThinkPad tablet. It's a 10.1-inch Android 3.1 tablet, 1.57 pounds, got 2 cameras on it, 5 megapixels and a 2-megapixel front facer for doing conference calls, aiming it at the business market. But this is a really compelling offer because you can add a full-size keyboard with a track button. It's a BlackBerry-style track button, not a normal ThinkPad-style track button, but still, $99 for that full-size keyboard. And when you plug it in, it pretty much looks like a ThinkPad, and then when you pull it off, you got yourself a tablet. They also are selling a digitizing stylus for the ThinkPad tablet for $30 that allows you. It's one of those capacitive styluses, so even if your fingers are touching the screen, it still works.
Nice.
It's 16, 32, and 64 gigabyte options. 3G, not on one provider, not on 2 providers, but 2.5 providers, as Brian might say. Sprint, AT&T, Verizon, or you can get the Wi-Fi only. The only price we have is for the Wi-Fi only ThinkPad tablet, $499. Also don't have a release date. They also announced the IdeaPad K1, which is pretty much the same tablet as the ThinkPad tablet, but it doesn't come with the option for keyboard or stylus. So if you're like, I don't want to use that keyboard or stylus, you'd get the IdeaPad K1. Both of them have USB slots, an SD card slot. They come with Lenovo's proprietary interface and proprietary Android marketplace, so you may or may not like that. And free access to 2 gigabytes of cloud storage with NVIDIA Tegra 2 processors inside. These are nice tablets, priced to be competitive with iPad, coming with Android 3.1.
Pretty fully loaded too.
They are
Nice
well
cameras.
full with USB, SD card slots. I want to see the prices for the 3G options, but the fact that you've got 3 US choices for this, these are really compelling.
That's one of the fun things about Android tablets these days, is that because the operating system's pretty solid, everybody's got to do something slightly different to make theirs stand out. And like having extra cloud storage or having your choice of carrier, like, this is kind of a neat little extension to Android. So this is a nice byproduct. I like this.
Brian, is this, we know you don't live in the Mac universe, so you might be wanting an Android tablet, right? Or do you use an iPad?
Ironically, I am all about the iOS on my mobile
Okay, never
devices.
mind.
I do have the
You're the
iPad.
wrong person. Jason Howell.
No, but
Mute
seriously,
his mic.
I'll tell you what, this is such a right idea, and it'll be a good question as to whether or not the hardware is quite where it needs to be. But I could see this eventually taking over the space currently held by laptops, where all of a sudden it's just like, well, I really don't need a laptop now. I can do everything. I don't need to get a MacBook Air, whatever entry-level small portable device, if all of a sudden this becomes the de facto standard and it becomes the laptop of the future.
Jason, as an Android user?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think what you said, Iyaz, is spot on as far as the Android tablet space right now. And this definitely is doing something similar to like the Transformer, where, like you said, the software is so similar. They have to differentiate by hardware. All the time you hear, is it an iPad killer? Maybe we're hearing that a little bit less here and there. I'm beginning to think that that shouldn't be part of the discussion, because each of these tablets brings something so incredibly different to the table, hopefully, that they all appeal to different sections. So there won't be one tablet that appeals to everybody, but this might be the form factor that I buy into, and it's good for me for that.
I would like to legislate that anyone be shocked anytime, not like I'm emotionally shocked, but like electrically shocked anytime they use the term iPad killer.
Yeah.
I
totally thought you meant, like, you just have to, even if you don't feel it, you at least have to gasp.
You have to no. I want people to be electrocuted when they say iPad killer. That's what I'm saying.
So just keep saying it.
All right. On to, and I guess I just electrocuted myself
That's too
2 or
bad.
3 times.
iPad killer.
Amazon is making a deal with CBS. Amazon Prime Instant, the one where you pay $79 a year to get 2-day shipping on everything from Amazon, but also unlimited streaming gets thrown in for the fun of it. Just announced they're adding 2,000 episodes of CBS content. Jeff Bezos and CBS Les Moonves made the announcement together, so got the bigwigs on stage for this. It's similar to the other deals CBS has made. No access to past seasons, but you get 18 full series from the CBS-owned library. So you're going to hear shows that you're like, that didn't air on CBS, but these were produced by CBS. CBS owns the rights to them. Star Trek, the whole run, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, all of those. The Tudors, Numbers, Medium, Frasier, Cheers, and a bunch of others. And they're going to not only be available for that instant streaming, but also available to buy or rent through Amazon Instant, which you don't have to be an Amazon Prime member to access.
Amazon's gearing up all these content deals. I mean, again, it still adds a lot more evidence that, okay, they are coming out with a tablet someday, eventually, and they're going to have a ton of content. Having CBS, I mean, CBS is that one holdout. It's not on Hulu, so they have this already. Now they just have to deal with all these other networks to get content rights.
I think that the whole impending Amazon tablet is very key here, because you say, okay, well, it's Amazon versus Netflix. Well, Netflix is very mobile right now. You can watch streaming Netflix on all sorts of devices.
Hulu Plus is even somewhat mobile.
Amazon is not really a mobile. I mean, I can watch Amazon content through my Roku box, for example, but it's not mobile right now. Once Amazon has one of their fancy tablets, you can bet that this will all be part of it.
If you really want to play in the Amazon universe and you want to watch stuff mobile, you're going to want to buy that tablet when it comes out. Go ahead, Brian.
It could also keep in mind also there's a tremendous install base with the Kindle app on all the iOS devices, on your Android devices. It could be the kind of thing that, let's say they do come out with the tablet device, and then all of a sudden they can say, oh, there's an update for your Kindle app, and then it opens up the video store on there.
I like it. I just wish CBS would put some of their current episodes in some of these services. Like, I guess you just have to go to CBS.com if you want to watch any of this stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty spotty, actually. Their coverage on shows that are running right now. So they keep. It was odd because they were only showing clips of certain shows that appeal to geeks, and that made no sense because otherwise you would just go get it another
CBS
way.
is very strong in the aging to dead market too, so I guess they don't feel the pressure.
Well, they've been changing a bit with Les Moonves.
Let's watch the Frasier series from episode 1.
I love Frasier.
Yeah.
I also love the news fuse. Google's got your back, folks. If your system has malware that sends traffic to Google via proxy servers, your Google results will now have an alert at the top that says your computer appears to be infected, along with a link that will help you learn how to fix the problem. Google had discovered this malware after investigating some unusual patterns of activity and figured, hey, we'll share our findings with the world.
I'm always tempted to think of a real-world analog for something like this, and I feel like this is the equivalent of going to Best Buy and checking out, and the guy going, "You all right, dude? You're not looking so hot. You might want to get yourself checked out."
Yeah, let me scan you.
saying.
But it's that dude saying that who also is going to fix your problem.
Oh, okay, that's a good point.
It's like a random
Actually,
doctor
that
there.
does change it.
And I'm a doctor. Yeah.
You need this tonic that I have available. Just go ahead. It's free. Don't worry about it.
You guys know how people who pirate entertainment are destroying the entertainment industry?
That's
and
what I hear all day,
talking
every day.
about that.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
actually,
man.
that might not even be true.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. According to a newly released report related to the rating of file sharing site Kinoto, or two, it's Kino.to. It turns out that the users of the service used file sharing as a way to decide how to spend money on entertainment. Real money, too, not play money. They would sample certain things, like movies, then decide whether or not to see that movie in the theater. Apparently, these same users outspent average consumers on entertainment content.
They should be locked up.
I can't believe them
And they should be
sampling
shot.
stuff just to buy it later.
It's like the radio. That's crazy. The Wall Street Journal reported that Apple was conducting an informal conversation to find the next CEO of Apple after Steve Jobs. However, Steve Jobs says otherwise. He emailed the Wall Street Journal and said that reports of a CEO successor search are hogwash. That's his word, hogwash. Jobs has taken a couple of medical leave absences from Apple, but has keynoted several announcements, including the introduction of the iPad 2.
He's currently on medical leave and still doing keynotes. Google is doing some house cleaning. Say goodbye to Google Labs. Yeah, I know. Google's home for experiments like Google Body and Swiffy, the SWF to HTML5 converter, going away. What will happen to those experiments? Well, some are going to be spun out. Others will be phased out. Google will announce the future of those experiments at the Labs site. But before you panic, labs within Google properties like Gmail or Calendar will not be shut down. So if you've got some extensions turned on, those will still work.
The Sonos Play 3 is now a reality after lots and lots of speculation and leaky stuff.
Ew.
As in, yeah, just news leaks, not actually just wet or anything. No moist leaks. Okay?
design.
I just want to keep that clear.
Getting ooier.
If you're
Not
unfamiliar
getting
with
better.
Sonos, it's not like that at all. It actually makes products that allow you to easily create multi-room audio setups. They're really awesome. That are controllable via iOS or
I
Android
love
devices. Sonos is good. Yeah, I have a setup in my house as well. The Play 3 is an entry-level set of wireless speakers priced at a hair under $300 that can receive all kinds of audio like your iTunes library or thousands of free internet radio stations, as long as you also purchase a Sonos Bridge, which is $50 extra.
I got a bridge
Yep.
I could sell you.
Bridge to nowhere, I bet.
That's cost more than $50.
I like this idea, though, because there's a couple of areas that I'd love to expand my Sonos to, but it's like right now the price tag, it's a big jump to get something with the speakers and everything in it. If I could spend under $300, I think I'd consider it for something that's fully enclosed.
Well, maybe if invested wisely. It's time to check the stock market. Real estate listing site Zillow went public today with an initial stock price of $20. That quickly rose to $45, and the stock closed at a very respectable $35.77. And a little trivia for you guys: Zillow is the first stock on the Nasdaq exchange that has a single letter symbol, Z. Z for Zillow.
Oh, those are all over the New York Stock Exchange, but NASDAQ never had one?
This is the first one.
Huh.
Wow.
Look at that.
So Pandora's not on NASDAQ then, because they're P.
Hey, that's not nice. T-Mobile announced that it will cut prices of
You're
smartphone
leaky.
plans, according to CNET. T-Mobile's mid-level plan will drop from $80 to $60 per month. That plan will give you unlimited calling, unlimited data with 2 gigabytes before being throttled. Even T-Mobile's 5 gigabyte plan will cost $15 less than before. However, T-Mobile hasn't confirmed these prices. The new plans will go live on the 24th of July.
HP is building up its ecosystem for the touchpad, and this time HP has added a movie store app, which is powered by Roxio. Movie rentals are about $3, movie purchases are about $10, and TV shows will cost you about $2. It's a good week to be a touchpad user then. First the Kindle app, and now this.
We got a nice juicy tech story here. The TSA has an announcement. An upgrade to security scanners will show hidden objects under clothes without taking a naked picture of a person. The upgrade has been tested in a couple of airports already, including Las Vegas and Atlanta. Instead of the incredibly detailed image of a scanned person, there'll be a really generic body.
What's
with the
juicy
object.
about that? That's less juicy.
It's actually kind of desiccated.
Yeah.
Well, and
Just some generic
I would
body.
imagine-
It's not salacious, no.
I would imagine for the tech to happen, that's probably not entirely accurate that it doesn't take a naked picture. It just doesn't display the naked picture. Have you seen the actual photo I think that it has on the blog where it's like it just has like this kind of stick figure thing and it shows like a trouble area on there, which is I kind of I'm a weirdo who like will full on walk naked through the middle of the airport if somebody dares me to, but I've never walked through one of those millimeter wave radar things because it's on principle, because it's poor constitutional hygiene. It's not taking care. It's not exercising your Fourth Amendment rights. So I wonder how many people will all of a sudden, because they don't have to see the naked looking photos, all of a sudden decide, oh, well, now it's okay to use them. When in fact, like, if that's the reason you're not going through them, you're not going through them for the wrong reason, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
Wow, now this person had no idea when they posted to their blog that they were going to blow up like they did, but someone named Bird Abroad, on the blog, Bird Abroad, posted about a fake Apple store in China. I'm trying to find the name. I don't want to get the name wrong, so I'm trying to find where they live in China. It's like, oh, she says it a million times in this story. But anyway, in her neighborhood in this town in China, so it's not Shanghai, it's not Beijing, it's a smaller town, there is this Apple store that looks just like an Apple store. And in fact, all the employees have the blue shirts, and they have the blonde tables, and they have iPads and MacBooks, and there's the spiral staircase and everything.
Everything's very legitimate. They've got those neat iPod posters on the wall.
And it turns out that Bird Abroad knew enough to check and say, you know, Apple doesn't say they have an app store in my town, and there's no authorized reseller. And I talked to the people who are in here. They think they work for Apple. But there's a few telling details. For instance, the fact that it says Apple Store on the sign.
That's
Apple never does that.
That's already weird.
The town is Kunming.
Kanming. Okay, thank you. So apparently she was kind of weirded out by this and went around the corner, and there was another one. There were like two more in the same neighborhood.
Do we know if there's something counterfeit Apple products as well, or is it just the full
couldn't
store?
find that out. Bird Abroad did not make that clear in the posting. It sounds to me like they are, and there's lots of ways to get a hold of legitimate. A lot of people speculate that these are just knockoff products, but I have a feeling they're not. I have a feeling that they actually got a hold, you know, through legitimate channels, some Apple products, and then
I mean,
threw together an
are
Apple
they
store.
marked up? Could we get a discount? Should we go to Kunming?
Maybe.
I mean, are they as happy as the Apple employees?
I bet all the cases and accessories
I wonder if they
are
clap for you when you
unauthorized.
buy something like the American Apple stores.
I wouldn't go to any Apple store that spells store S-T-O-E-R.
Well, it's probably spelled right in Chinese.
Right. Yeah. It's an honest mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I mean, we've seen knockoffs of products before, but that
Whole store.
that is impressive.
That's an impressive thing. I can't imagine they'll be around much longer since they've been outed. Apple can't like
They'll
this
just take it
idea
over
very
and just
much.
change the font slightly because the fonts are off on the ads.
Apple's like, how much are they making?
Crab Apple Store.
Right. Maybe we should open a store there.
No, Apple's actually pretty vicious about, you know,
This is the beta test.
with authorized Apple resellers, there's a strict rule about what they can and cannot show and what they can and
Yeah.
cannot say. They cannot brand themselves as Apple. They have
Right.
to say authorized Apple reseller.
I like those little sections in Best Buy that are very, very controlled.
But those are branded Best Buy, not Apple, and they're very careful about that. So yeah, they probably don't love this. Not too much. Let's move on to the calendar.
Okay. Netflix's streaming video app on Android has been updated to work on 24 models, including several Galaxy S phones, the Droid 3, even that newly announced Lenovo tablet. Tablet's looking better all the time. Intel announced their Q2 earnings today, and guess what? Analysts are wrong a lot. Intel just reported per-share earnings of 59 cents and revenue of $3.1 billion versus the expected 51 cents to $2.8 billion.
No word if executives at Intel stood up and said, I got your expectations right here.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on confirmation on that.
And then, sort of did like the
Yeah.
Tarzan thing. But they might have.
That sounds like Intel.
We'll follow up tomorrow on that. Today, Virgin Mobile released the Motorola Triumph. It's not a motorcycle. For $300, you get a stock Android 2.2 experience without a contract with some decent specs. However, no 4G on this phone. So if you want 4G, look elsewhere. Google has brought in-app payments to any web app. So this is the feature that allows developers to offer single-click payments from their applications. This was first announced back in May at Google I/O. Both Microsoft and AMD will report earnings tomorrow. That's July 21st. They're expected to be in line with expectations. Actually, also tomorrow, Nokia will announce their earnings. And sadly, they're also supposed to be in line with expectations.
Windows Phone 7.
Sometimes analysts are wrong.
Maybe.
Yeah. The Space Shuttle Atlantis finishes the last space shuttle mission tomorrow as well. Tomorrow's actually... it's going to be kind of a busy day. So the deal is, if you're in North America, landing time is scheduled for 5:56 a.m. Eastern time. So East Coasters, get up early. West Coasters,
2:26 a.m.
Stay up late.
No, 2:56 a.m. Pacific.
Just have a late night.
I guess I'm not coming in and covering it. I had this idea that I'd come in and we'd do a live stream cover of it.
You could call in.
We could do a cover of it. We can just read back
Why
the
don't you
transcript.
come in?
We'll do an interpretive dance later.
And actually, report that they're coming out with ape costumes on or something, like basically punk the entire TWiT crowd. 20 minutes before it actually happens.
It's out of the bag now, Brian.
As long as I get to sleep earlier, I like it.
Also, tomorrow, Verizon's next big LTE push is happening. Among the lottery winners are Portland, Oregon, Toledo, Ohio, Winston-Salem, Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, Maui, that's in Hawaii, Wichita, Kansas, Knoxville, Tennessee. I could go on. Those are a few. And coverage will be expanded in Seattle, Louisville, Phoenix, L.A., San Diego, and Las Vegas.
San Diego, just in time for Comic-Con.
I know, exactly. Finally, Samsung's next Galaxy phone is set for a U.S. release of August.
All right. On to the emails to TNT@twit.tv. Hey, that guy who emailed me and said, I can't find the email address anywhere on your site. I don't know what your email address is, so I'm sending you your Yahoo email address. It's TNT@twit.tv. And it's in the description of the show on our website at twit.tv/TNT. So I hope that helps. Matt wrote in and said, hey, Al, I did some research and found this excerpt in a FAQ from Comcast. Question in the FAQ is data usage from fancast.com included and streaming video or video downloads or on-demand and online service that Comcast is going to roll out included? Talking about the 250 gigabyte cap. Answer, according to Comcast, yes to both. All data usage, regardless from what website or application or device, is counted by the data usage meter. Thus, we are not applying preferential treatment to data usage for Comcast's internet-based video services over the services of other companies. Now, they do specify video here, but Matt speculates that this implies that maybe that backup system that Comcast says doesn't count against your cap. We still don't know for sure. We haven't gotten any definitive information from Comcast about whether their backup service actually counts against your 250 gigabyte cap.
Our next email is from Paul. He was mentioning a story that we covered about Apple's expectations for the next quarter. He was letting us know, he had this technical point, that Apple is now deferring part of each sale of Macs and iOS devices to cover the fact you'll continue to get upgrades to the OS over a number of years, and for iCloud, that would also decrease their stated revenues. Also remember that the drop everyone is talking about isn't the drop of the amount of increase of revenues from this quarter to the next quarter. Apple is still saying there will be a 25% increase in sales from the same quarter last year. So that's a really good interpretation of what exactly was going on with Apple's numbers.
Okay, so we speculated that maybe it have to do with the fact that there isn't a new iPhone this summer. So that's
not just a financial technicality.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Finally, Alan from New Jersey, near Philly, so I guess it's that southeastern part of New Jersey, says, news reports of those tickets for pedestrian texters you guys mentioned yesterday in Philadelphia were probably misreported. Quote from ABC Post says, in a statement released on Tuesday afternoon, Cutler said, I'm not sure who Cutler is, I guess...
Deputy Mayor, I believe.
Deputy Mayor said, pedestrians may be reminded to be more aware of their surroundings. However, there are no citations issued by the Philadelphia Police Department for texting while walking. That's kind of what we said yesterday. I mean, if there's an accident, somebody might get in trouble, but you can text and walk for now.
Brian, were you going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, is this the kind of thing where like it's a law, but it's okay because they're not going to enforce the law? Because that drives me nuts. Like that's how they originally sold, the forced everyone wearing seatbelts, or in Texas. I don't know if it's true or not.
Cutler's saying this isn't even a law. That the reports were just all wrong. But how did the reports get started then?
They were just thrown out there at some meeting. So I was like, let's write it up on a blog.
You know what we ought to do?
Investigate.
Yeah, right. You know what people ought to do? Not be able to text while they're walking across the street and getting hit by cars.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Oh my gosh, it's a law. No,
Yeah.
it's not.
Maybe we should start a campaign.
Thanks for the clarification, Alan from New Jersey, which is near Philly.
That's right.
And thank you, folks, on our Reddit for submitting stories and voting them up or down at technewstoday.reddit.com. We get lots of good stuff from people like Paul DW, Oaklabear, Cosmic Vibes, Ferryden, DN Elms 44, and of course people like Captain Kipper. He's in there all the time. Vote stuff up or down. You don't even have to submit an article. Lots of people submitting articles. You can do that too. But it takes no time to go to technewstoday.reddit.com and go, I want to hear him talk about that. I want to hear a little more analysis on that. Just vote some stuff up, or that's a stupid article. Why would I ever want it? Don't talk about that. You can vote it down as well. technewstoday.reddit.com and bricks.twit.tv is another URL you should remember. Because starting Monday, I'll be walking into work every day past your message if you buy a brick. And I will see it, and I will read it, and I will thank you viciously.
Thank you. One by one, Brick.
I'll just be standing there staring at Brick saying thanks.
Thanks, Brick.
Thank you, other Brick.
Thanks, Brick.
See, I'm thinking you go the opposite direction. You go totally demotivator on it. You're like, seriously, Merritt, don't screw up. It's your job.
Yeah.
And every time he has to walk past it.
Yeah, don't screw up, Merritt. Would be a great thing to see every morning.
Good motivation.
Or how about
The larger the
stop
brick, the better,
screwing
too.
up, Merritt?
Yeah, or will you ever stop screwing up?
How about doing your job, Merritt?
Yeah.
How about Merritt? You are a sham and a failure.
Oh.
Give up, Merritt.
As long as they put it on that giant brick, the 8x8, the $640
Yeah.
one, that's fine.
I don't care what you
like.
write, as long as it's the most expensive
That's a
one.
brick. Ever.
You'll never achieve the success of your idol, Dick Cavett, Merritt. That's actually what I put on my own brick. But anyway, bricks.twit.tv. Help us, finish off the studio, because even after we move in, it's kind of not finished.
Yeah,
It's a work in progress.
It's very dusty right now.
Anybody who's ever
It was a
built
webpage that had that little digging guy under construction. Constantly.
Yeah.
And Brian Brushwood,
going
thank you so much for being on the show.
Dude, it is always a blast. I'll be happy to come back anytime you guys can put up with me. You guys are awesome.
Now, you are the best. You stop. No, you stop. No, you stop. Hey, what are you doing on the internet these days?
You know what? Come and check out a little show I do with this guy, Tom Merritt, where we talk about viral videos, television, movies. It's called Frame Rate. It's completely awesome.
That Dick Cavett wannabe. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I read a brick about that guy.
Also, I am having a blast on Google Plus. If you look up Brian with an I, Brushwood spelled the way it sounds, what I realized is because you have a whole new audience with the Google Plus, you can go back through your tweet archive and find the most brilliant little nuggets you ever came up with like 2 years ago, and you're like, oh, here's something I just thought of, and it was like, oh, that's hilarious.
All
That's
right.
what I'm recycling old material. I'm in reruns right now.
On Plus. Exclusively on Plus.
I can't wait for the new season. That's all I'm saying. Hey, thanks everybody for watching. Twit.tv/TNT is our URL. You can find us on the web there. You can email us TNT@twit.tv or give us a call 260-TNT-SHOW. We'll see you tomorrow.